Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Sisko and Mike. I'm Sisko,
And this is Mike.
and today we have a special guest. We have Chris Reza with us today. And it's funny because Chris is actually a mariachi singer and an LAPD detective. So, Chris, thank you for coming on.
Thank you,
Thank you,
guys.
bro.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks.
So, life as an LAPD officer, that's interesting because you're LAPD and mariachi.
Yeah.
Where's that balance come from? Or
Well, there's actually, a good balance to it, to be honest with you, or there's a lot of similarities, so to speak. I was told this by one of the main mariachi pioneers locally, Jose Hernandez. I'm sure you guys from Celito Lindo.
Okay, yeah.
So he was a friend of mine, and that's one of the places that I would go to when I was, starting to really get into mariachi music. He explained the similarities of mariachi music and police work, right, or the police environment, male dominated, right, very alpha, kind of with the uniforms and everything else. The environments, it's just very, very
the
similar.
man in uniform?
Yeah, it's very,
stigma?
and it was true. Once you got into both of them, the personalities, a lot of the problems and the things that go on in environments. So I think I was made it kind of comfortable for me because I was used to both environments. It's kind of like a military or a football team or something like that. So you have those personalities, and you're able to mix a bunch of different people to get a job done, right? So
Gotcha.
in that sense, it does make it easier. But music itself, mariachi music, basically is just a passion that I kind of was able to kind of do under the cover of darkness, and made it easier to put away everything that I was kind of carrying from police work at a certain point.
It was like your stress reliever?
That's all it was. Between the gym and that. So once I was done with work, it was close that door, and it was directly into my days off with music, or if I had something going on. And it was, for a long time, I was kind of doing it quietly, not mixing it with police work, but it definitely was a big outlet for me now that I'm looking back at it, because I was not one to take a lot of things home that I probably could have.
Gotcha.
Yeah, a lot of times that's what we do. We take our work with us, and the issues is that we don't have any stress relievers or hobbies to kind of get us off that.
Yeah.
But yours kind of morphed, right? It was a hobby first, and now it's becoming more of a.
Yeah, it was a hobby. It was just one of those things where I was growing up. I knew I had something more to give, and I just didn't know what it was. I just knew that there was something inside of me that needed to be expressed, and I tried different things. Right, I knew I did sports, and I was in those environments, and then I was like, maybe it's boxing. So I started taking boxing. I just had this idea of something other, right?
Gotcha.
And a couple putazos later, I'm like,
not for me.
From the force. Fuck that.
not boxing, man. Nah. So I trained with that. I kept training there, but like, no shots to the face. But then all of a sudden, I did this, like everything else, every other Mexican family, backyard boogies, man. It was a mariachi at a family party, and the first time, I was like, oh shit, this is it. This is staying in front of a mariachi, and this is what I want to do. I didn't realize what it would turn into, right? But it was just something that I knew I had to do again, and that's just what it turned into. And it kind of, once it happened, it's weird because doors started opening.
So let me ask you a question. So you were at a backyard boogie,
My family,
and you said, fuck it, you picked up the mic.
yeah, it's time.
And you
And
went
that's
on.
tough.
Yeah.
And did you yourself realize it? Or was it based on the fact of the people's reaction? Did that tell you, like, oh shit, I could sing?
No.
Or did you know already, kind of like, hey?
You know what? I always, looking back now, like that was one moment, right, of actually the mariachi thing, because it was a powerful thing when you stand in front of a mariachi and you sing, and you just feel this sensation behind you of the music and the different instruments, and it's kind of caresses you, right? But looking back later on, I always had this thing for music since I was a kid. Once I started putting all the dots together, it went way back.
Gotcha.
It went back. I could tell you, I was probably 12, 11 years old, where my family is very musical, so to speak. I got all this from my mom. She was always singing. She was a mariachi singer. She was performing at Cinco de Mayo events at school. She was singing at weddings. All this thing that I hated her doing.
Gotcha.
I couldn't. I don't know if I was jealous or what, but I hated her singing them because they always asked her to sing everywhere.
You just felt embarrassed as a kid.
all
We're
of
embarrassed
it,
of our parents.
whatever it was, right? And I was like, and I didn't like it, but little by little, she was instilling that into me, right?
Yeah.
With music, with certain songs, with lyrics, her love of it, which I eventually ended up catching it. But since I was a kid, because of that, I always used to sing. And I remember I was at my grandmother's house, and my great grandmother and my grandmother were there. And I was singing, and they're all being criticones, right? They're all music experts. All of them are professional singers and music experts. And I heard them, the ladies talking. They're like, oh, mira, con poquito de trabajo, con un maestro, sí, a lo mejor sí la hace, right? And I was just like, what a crazy grandmothers, right? Singing certain things in high school, and, you know, during basketball, football practice, and people would look like, was that you? And it was just, yeah, whatever, man. You know, starting middle linebacker, they're not going to think you're going to, you know, what's this guy doing? But it was like, whoa, wow, you sang that? And then always a certain kind of music. Like it was before a football game, everybody listening to rock. You know, all this Metallica and trying to pump themselves up. And I had earphones on, listening to like Juan Gabriel. You know, or some, you know, some romantic Boys to Men kind of stuff. Yeah. But that would just calm me down. That's what I enjoyed. So all those things were influences that once it all came together, it was like, oh, it all went back since then, you know? And then the mariachi thing was just something that you put it on. It's like a glove. It's cultural. It's in our heritage. It's something that growing up, like you said, that way, and in East LA where you see it all the time, it was. And I realized, like you said, growing up in East LA, the importance of what we were being given culturally, right? And which led to what I'm doing and what I started trying to do to give back to next generations, you know, because musically things are going in a different direction a little bit, right? Vicente Fernandez, rest in peace, just passed away. He's probably the last one that we're ever going to see that's for a while that's strictly a mariachi performer. Yeah. Now there's all kinds of, you know, fusions,
Pepe Aguilar
styles with they're mixing different things and nothing. I get it. It's popular. You know, you got Alejandro doing different stuff. You got the Christian Nodales of the world, and it's all a fusion, and it's because that's what's popular right now. But
do you think maybe it's a way to try to evolutionize, like you said, do a fusion, but also keep a little bit of what we have?
It's a way to
not lose it,
right? It's a transitional period to bring it along still, but the traditional that's there. It's always going to be there, you know, because we were raised on the commercial, right? We were raised on. I was, as far as Vicente Fernandez, Rocío Dúrcal, Juan Gabriel, the real popular ones, right? If you got more into it, it was Jose Alfredo, it was Javier Solis, you know. And then there's a lot of stuff that, because I wasn't born in Mexico, that I'm not very familiar with, right? That's when you get into the mariachis and you know sones huastecos. It turns into a big old history of mariachi music, man, that goes back 100 years. But it's a way of keeping mariachi alive. It's a way to, obviously there's some evolution to it, where they're bringing along a different style. People are changing. They want to hear something different. You know, a lot of people. But there's still an audience that's the Vicente crowd, older, kind of either us with our parents, right? My own memories, our gustos, you know, that kind of stuff that kind of needs to be filled, you know, whether at a certain level, of course, right? And some of those things, like I said, some of those fusions are good. There's nothing against them, but as far as being solely traditional, and it's not the artist's fault. It's what the people, paying customer, want to hear. Radio play and everything is huge. They really won't play straight mariachi, you know.
I think that's the biggest difference. Mainstream and the radio, you want to hear something more fused, I guess. But live version, everybody likes the banda live. Everybody likes mariachi live. just like you said, the instruments and something, the way you said it, it caresses you, and
Right.
it's kind of true. You know, that music just
I
kind of
think,
goes through you.
but I think to a certain point nowadays with the social media and with YouTube, mariachi. If you want to strictly do mariachi, you don't need the the local radio stations
Yeah.
to play your shit anymore.
No,
it's more like,
Well,
hey,
it's kind of rare when they play actually,
They
like
don't.
strictly mariachi. They really don't.
yeah, they don't.
Like you said,
that's-
Vicente Fernandez
yeah.
was one of the last ones that played.
I mean, they play like probably around Mexican holidays, right?
True.
And
More around
that's
there.
just again, it's just to feed
Yeah.
the.
Yeah, every now and then, but they'll play those fusions, and which is, they call it mariachi moderno.
I hadn't
You
even
know.
heard that term.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
So they throw in, and it's kind of retro at the same time, but they throw in an accordion and, one of those requinto kind of guitars, and sireno kind of stuff they're doing now.
Oh yeah, serreño.
Yeah. So it's one of those fusions. And some of them are good. It's just not the original 3 violins, 2 trumpets, guitarrón, vihuela, guitarra, and maybe a harp. Like those solely, like you said. But everybody has them in the backyard still.
Yeah.
They're huge right now.
Yeah.
Since the pandemic, the mariachi business
It's picked up.
has been huge. That's part of another reason too. It's hard to do. They're busy months in advance. Since the pandemic started, where people couldn't go anywhere,
Yeah.
the mariachi business, some of my buddies picked up huge
nice.
business. People, and that's the thing about mariachi that's never gonna go away. Mariachi is the world representative
Of Mexico.
of Mexico.
Yeah.
Tequila, mariachi, folklorico, and it's worldly represent. Nothing else is gonna take.
So
its
let me
place.
ask you a question. Because you mentioned tequila and mariachi, and it's a little side note from what we're talking about the mariachi, but it's still part of us.
Right.
So tequila represents Mexico. Everybody knows that, right? You go around the world, tequila, Mexico. How do you feel about other cultures or people trying to?
What other people might call cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, how do you feel about that? Like The Rock, like with Terramana, tequila.
That's pretty
right?
good though.
It's good.
But yeah.
You got the Kardashians. They have a
Everybody.
tequila brand. That's what I'm saying.
Hollywood.
How do you feel about that?
I think it's funny, but I think, as we've proven time and time again on social media and everything else, Mexicans don't react that way. We don't do a toda madre. Let's bring. Hey, look, let's bring. Oh, that's good. Yeah,
They
Mexico's
didn't have Jose
badass.
Cuervo, so let's grab this one.
Hey, that's good. Yeah, make tequila. That's good. We don't take things. We take it as a form of, it's pride. Like, yeah, they want some of our culture. Where other people might see that you're culturally appropriating, right?
Gotcha.
We don't. I mean, I see what you're saying, but that's just us as a culture. I saw something on on social media where these guys were going and asking. They were dressing up in a little wannabe mariachi hat. The little ones that they put on you in a restaurant and stuff like that. And they were walking around a college asking students. Some were Hispanic, some were not. Hey, do you think this is offensive to Mexicans? Yes. So offensive.
Yeah, they were not Mexican.
No. So offensive. I find it offensive. They went to Placita Olvera and they asked some of the Mexicanos that were selling the stuff there. They were like, no, it's great.
They're like, where'd you get it?
That's it right here.
They were like, no, it's great. You look great. Don't worry about it. But that's the truth of the matter.
Yeah.
If we find it great that people want, that want to accept our cultural, our roots. And
That's true.
And it's that way. But yeah, those tequilas, people ask me about those tequilas. I'm like, yeah, man, that's not real tequila. I'm sorry. That's it. I drank tequila for a long time, allegedly. And any of those Casamigos, all those things that use it is part of
not
my
the
Avión, right?
Yeah, it's-
Avión también.
Yeah.
It's not the same, yeah.
Nah,
man.
man.
Even just the real Mexican brands here are not the same as you going over, to Mexico
of
and
course.
actually having it. So they're, it's not watered down, but
It's a different thing. I went to we played a gig. We did a mariachi thing in Guadalajara, so we were able to go to that tequila plantation and get a tour and see how everything's made. And that's where you get fields of agaves. You're on a train. You see, like, this can't be made anywhere else, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is uniquely Mexico's business, is one thing, and it all goes back to Mexico and everything. So these people are business savvy. They're gonna sure you want your own bottle of tequila. Cisco and Mike could have their own bottle of tequila too.
Yeah.
If you guys get back there, and there's ways to do that now. But the real stuff is a little different, But we're different people that way.
Yeah.
I think we're not so hypersensitive about certain things.
That's true. I think that's a point that we never even consider. In
until
general,
now.
but-
It's like,
yeah.
yeah.
Because you think about it, even when we go to Mexico,
You gonna give my people money?
That's pretty much it.
but think about it, when people go to Mexico or just Tijuana in
That's what I
general,
was gonna say.
they're taking pictures with a sombrero and they had them. We're over
We
here
have a-
laughing and cheering them
We
on.
have a burro
Yeah.
that people climb on to take fucking
Right.
pictures with.
Yeah, so I mean,
So
That's uniquely our part of our culture and our people, and festive and welcoming, and that's how we live in Southern California, man.
Yeah.
It's Cinco de Mayo every day around
Every
here. It's you micheladas, tacos, and chips and salsa, margaritas every day. Every town around here, you find something like that every day of the week.
that's true.
You know,
Even
that-
in Redlands,
How absolutely.
they have a spot called Mr. Taco, and todos los güeros they all go there, and it's popping.
everybody likes the Mexican food no matter where
That's
you
it,
go,
everywhere,
man.
We're everywhere.
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
Until you get chorro from the food, you know what I'm saying? And all the meats.
No,
No, that's the corriente. That's the like the canned beans and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, no,
Don't
man.
remind me, man. I had stomach flu this week, man. It was bad.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, it was bad. But yeah, I see what you're saying with that. That's just business at the end of the day. But
Cool.
I don't find anything like that too
So you-
offensive. I won't drink it, but
I'm not gonna lie, I tried the Terramana.
It's
The
pretty
Rock.
good.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
It's not the best, but
Yeah,
Right.
of course you can't
Yeah,
compare.
yeah.
I mean, people like drinking Blanco for some reason. I don't
Yeah,
understand.
that's true.
I don't understand who the hell want to drink tequila Blanco. It's not, that's not the best thing to do. That's the quickest one to make. But, hay gustos para todo, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Y estamos para servir.
No.
We-
Yeah, exactly.
Anything you need, we got for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
that's
much.
We'll find a way.
And if you don't believe it, go to downtown at the alleys. We got everything.
De todo, man.
So you said you grew up in East LA, right? What
Absolutely.
city specifically?
It was just underneath. It was
East LA,
East LA,
or-
man. It was the county side of East LA.
Okay.
Just below, kind of like City Terrace. Basically, west of the 710 and north of the 60.
Okay.
So it's a little.
Cesar Chavez, all that street,
Cesar
all that
Chavez,
area.
Hamel was Brooklyn back then.
No?
Brooklyn Avenue, Cesar Chavez, Hamel, Rowan, Eastern, all the way up to Boyle Heights. I mean, I did live at one point in Boyle Heights. When I was born, and we were actually living in Boyle Heights. But growing up, it was all East LA, which is east of Indiana. West of Indiana is the line that starts Boyle Heights. Let's get that straight. Okay, let's get that straight right off the bat. That is city of LA, and that is Boyle Heights. But yeah,
Okay.
that's where we grew up, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
You've watched it change, that means, right? From kind of where it was mostly predominant Mexican, then it kind of transitioned for a while to like Chicano area,
Right.
and now it's becoming, I don't even know what to call it now, but it's more
Oh, it's being
hipster,
yeah.
Gentrified?
gentrified. There you
Gentrified,
go.
yeah.
It's becoming hipsterish, and
Gentified, as some people would say.
so you've got to see in the process a little bit, huh?
What do you think about that?
Well, there's pros and cons to all of that, right? I've seen, because of my work now, I'm being in Boyle Heights. There's people that, you start moving industries in and stuff like that. You're gonna displace certain people,
Yeah.
right? And we got to take care of those people, right? We can't just bring a bunch of fancy stuff in and just move people out
Yeah.
that have been there for a long time or that are struggling. So
Yep.
everything has a balance. It's like they were trying to get rid of a mariachi houses and stuff like that. And
Mariachi Plaza, most
those kinds
recently,
of
yeah.
areas. And they're still trying to take more pieces of that plaza.
They took the parking lot right behind it, I
Yes,
believe.
That's a whole nother big topic there that people are pro against that and not. So there's a lot of mixed messaging if you really look into that and who's making money off of that, what they're saying they're gonna do, and what's actually gonna happen. So yeah, that's going on. So a lot of it is good because it brings much needed people to the area for Also the mom and pop stores that are there going on, and it brings a different look to the area to the people that have been there for a long time, but also brings some kind of displacement at the same time, you know. So it's a slippery slope, you know. But I have seen it since. Let me be honest with you. When I grew up in East LA, like I was telling, sorry,
Mike.
Mike, Sisko and Mike. I was telling Mike earlier. My family was first generation there, like probably in the 30s, 40s, or something like that. So we were probably the first Mexican Americans there at that point because it was a heavy Jewish community, Russians, Asians. So some of my neighbors still, when I was growing up, were still some Jewish people, a Japanese man, some Russians in there, and then the community, including Boyle Heights, where there was an original Cantor's Deli in Boyle Heights on Soto and Brooklyn, you know. So all that community started changing. And then we were some of the first Mexican American, my family, my dad's, you know, era there, and then started, you know, 70s, 80s, becoming more Mexican, right? To the point where when we were growing up in grammar school and in high school, then it was completely, you know, Mexican American, first generation. Our friends and everybody that we went to school with were like us, were the first ones that were pretty much actually born in the United States. Gotcha. And their parents were immigrants, right? So so I was able to see a lot of that, and they thought my dad was weird because my dad was like one of us back then. Yeah. So their dads were, you know, were immigrants, were paisas, you know. Yeah. They were like, dude, your dad's like us. I'm like, well, yeah, he's been here since he was born. He was a Marine, so he talked like us. Everything else. So he was like the homeboy growing up, right? But a lot of it changed, you know. A lot of it kept changing, and not a lot of good changes, to be honest with you. You know, the 90s were big gang violence, right? Drive-bys, and I had a lot of homeboys. We knew a lot of friends. You know, you're in that era, you know. It was easy to go one way or the other, right? And the gang violence really picked up in the 90s. You know, a lot of stuff happened, a lot of, you know, and we were fortunate to stay out of it, but we knew a lot of people, and things got weird, you know, things got violent. And right about that point, we picked up and left on my mom's hard work, and like every other good Chicano from East LA family, we went to Montebello. And then from Montebello we went to Whittier, you know. So that was kind of our migration story, right? But yeah, we ended up in Montebello right about that time, right before, in the 90s, late 90s, right before I became a cop deputy in 99, 2000. Okay. So we were living in Montebello, but yeah, it has changed, and some areas, you know, completely gentrified. You know, see the Los Feliz there. I mean, up in we call it Northeast Division. You know, off of the avenues and yes, bien hipster, right? Yeah. All of it's turned, and
I mean, you get even Echo Park, right?
Yes, completely. All of that.
It has changed completely.
Yeah,
all of that, all behind Dodger Stadium, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
That had a big to do with how everything changed at Dodger Stadium, with pre-gaming and the parks and the way they stopped all of that stuff.
The tailgating and all that, the bandas, mariachis.
Stopped from one year to the next because those prices of those homes around there went up. That place became gentrified. They said, hey,
we don't hear that shit.
We don't want people. I don't want people pissing in my yard. Yeah, I pay a lot of money to live here, and those politicians listen to those people.
Yeah, of course, money talks.
1 year to the next, we're there now. We're the assholes again, right? Said, hey, get in the stadium, park, get into the stadium. Go drink your $25 beers. Palm Row was closed. No drinking in the parks, no parties, no nothing. 1 year to the next.
Damn,
that's crazy.
That's the way that affects that kind of stuff. you know, because that like I said, Echo Park, that boulevard down there's
Yeah.
that's glitzy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they even have like vegan
All
spots.
that
And
stuff,
there's a
man.
vegan brewery there.
Vegan tacos and
Yeah.
shit. Fuck
You,
that.
you can only get guisados around there, bro. That's what, and no offense to guisados, I like it, you know. But that's when I work Dodger State. I go down the hill to guisados. That's the taco spot. That's local, but it's all like that.
Man, that's crazy, bro.
Yeah, how much has changed? Yeah.
So you're like really into like our culture and our people and Mexican heritage.
Right.
Did that kind of influence you into becoming a police officer and maybe sharing that and kind of relating?
I think it was never honestly. I think I've been accepted because of the honesty behind it. You can't fake. Some people try it, but you can't fake where you come from, man. So
Yeah.
So when you're able to relate to people and how you grew up and it's honest, people are gonna generally gravitate to it or accept it. Whether they like it or not is a whole nother story. But I never, honestly, we never really thought about being cops growing up. We just didn't. That's why I have a problem. Life was good, man. They wanted to sit here and tell us that our life growing up was oppressive, and they did this. My life was not that way, but it just maybe we were ignorant. Nothing I ever did or didn't do was anybody else's fault. And I had a great time growing up with the culture that I grew up in East LA. I was blessed. I'm blessed to have that in me. I'm blessed to be able to share that. To me, there's nothing better than be able to share my story and my culture, our culture, with people that don't know about it. You know, and there's so much to share. And if you get to talk to different people or, you know, even share that to younger kids or different generations and open their mind a little bit, you know, especially right now with some of the most divisive times that we've been living ever, right? And law enforcement has been put under a microscope or the fire again this time. It's important to have, for me, to have that relationship because the truth is not that. It's not what they see on TV. And there's problems. There's always going to be problems. But the supportive people, the people that know you, the people that you do this job for, which I've been able to communicate now through music, and I've been accepted because of where I came from and the things that I do. People are able to see me. We're like each other.
Yeah.
There's no difference between us. I just do a job. You've been in the military. You know we do a job, and that couldn't have been further from the truth of stuff that's gone on over the last couple of years. You know, there is some problems other places.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to fix the rest of the United States, bro. I'm sorry. They have their things to deal with their police agencies in different states that I probably would not want to be in.
Gotcha.
Okay, but we're in LA. There's most of us look like me now. We're about 70% Hispanic in the Los Angeles Police Department. That goes along the numbers as well with the Sheriff Department. And so for us to, I mean, to me, it's still a thrill. Like even now, I get excited talking about to be able to do what I do in the city that I grew up in with the people that I serve and doing the things that I'm able to do, you know, because it's never a dull moment. You said it's homegrown. It's natural. It's not synthetic. We were there. We grew up there. We're probably going to die there, and people can't tell me any different, you know. I'll take people's opinions and everything else, but don't try to tell me what I've lived, you know. Your opinions, what you read in a book, what a professor told you, what you read in the newspaper, what you saw on social media, is not going to really affect how I think or how I do my job or what my opinion of my life growing up was.
So you think because of the music and your upbringing, and obviously you grew up in the same neighborhood,
Right.
that has helped you
Absolutely.
bridge a gap between the community and the misconception of what some police officers do?
Right. Some people, yeah, absolutely. You people are easily gravitated to you, and there's not, and some police, like I said, there's always dudes. There's some guys that shouldn't be cops. There's some guys that do stupid shit.
The guy said it shouldn't have been Marines.
Exactly, bro. We all
I used
know
to say the
those
same thing.
Right. We all and eventually those people get found out.
Exactly.
Right. The majority of the situation is 99.9% of a lot of work is done right, and most of it's done quietly. We're living in a different era though, but it has made it completely. You're able to have an empathy when you walk into somebody's house. You're able to understand what their family's like. You're able to understand some of their problems. We all have families. We all weren't rich. We all knew some of the struggles that you had with. We knew the kids that their moms were getting beat up by their dads, right? We knew the kids that the dad was a drunk, right? So you knew those families. You heard what parents did to keep you out of, to keep you safe and do those things. So we understood those problems, right?
Gotcha.
Now you go and you deal with them, and they see that, okay, it's not the first time. It's like you're dealing with a family member. You're not coming out of this world and say, oh, what's this family about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No.
It's just this is just an extended part of my family, man. It's not. So that part of it was never really difficult to me. My upbringing definitely made my job easier. Whether it was working in the jails, because people, especially in the jails, when I spend time in the jails, people have they test you.
Yeah, I've heard stories.
And they like to see what you're about, and they could see if you're real or where you come from and everything like that, and it makes your job easy or makes your job really hard.
Yeah.
Because jail kind of runs itself, man.
Yeah.
One dude with 300 guys,
Yeah.
Kind of like the streets. I was actually a criminal justice major.
Right.
And we did the tours, and that's something that they told me. Pretty much, it's kind of like the streets. You got to be tough. You got to respect them, but you also can't let them disrespect you slightly, because that's when they kind of get the edge.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
is that what you did in jail too? Like, how's that experience?
Yeah,
Because we've watched movies and like all those.
The jail experience is intimidating, man. Because you get there's nothing that really prepares you for it. You could do a tour, and the way it's run is, especially with the sheriffs, you get there, day one, there's your job, there's your cell, there's your keys, and call us if you need anything, right? You're like, oh shit, so you kind of find your way squeezing next to a wall, trying to walk away the rails at first. By month 6, you're hanging on the fucking gates, talking to these guys, and hey, I need this, knowing who's,
Yeah.
who you need to deal with to get things done,
Yeah.
And once you learn the politics of the jail itself, which is a lot easier if you grew up knowing those politics on the streets as well, so they coincide, right?
Yeah.
Then your life becomes a little easier in there. You don't want to get complacent ever, because
Of course.
things are always can happen. But it definitely makes your job easier when you're understanding what these people are going through.
Exactly.
Right? If they come back from court, if they're pissed off, if they just got G'd up, if they're in jail and they find out a parent or somebody died,
And they can, yeah.
and that sets off a whole chain of reactions, right?
Yeah.
If two gangs are warring with each other, so those are things you kind of have to understand. And you do things, and some people, oh, how you weak, fuck, that's weak, fuck them. Man, they're people too, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Somebody, they're in jail and something happened to their loved one, right? So you want to just step on them. And what's that going to do? It's gonna cause problems.
It's going to cause commotion.
It's going to cause commotion for everybody. Why? Because dude, hey, man.
Yeah.
If you need anything or just separate them, whatever you did to try to, not over the top, but, okay, man, hey, deal with it, whatever, right? To me, it was just another, like I was talking the other day, it's just simple as putting on some oldies at the end of the night on the PA system.
Cool.
And
I bet they appreciated that.
everybody liked oldies,
Yeah. Yeah.
blacks and Hispanics.
Simone. Yeah.
And they would be quiet.
Just
For 15 minutes, 10 minutes, you couldn't hear a pin drop in that place. And that was my end of watch. I went home on time. Nothing ever happened when I was there after that. And I was told, hey, sir, this and this and that, but nothing's ever going to happen when you're here.
Cool. I got a
That's all
story,
I need.
bro.
What's it?
When I was in the military,
Yeah.
one of my billets was to be a chaser, which is transport brig prisoners from the brig to their appointments and shit.
Oh, okay.
I wasn't an actual MP or nothing,
Right.
but they would certify us for, fucking cuffing them,
Yeah.
putting the fucking
Waist
chingada
chain,
around,
yeah.
yeah. And I didn't want to be an MP. I didn't give a fuck about that. I
Right.
just knew, where I grew up.
Right.
Some of these motherfuckers done some crazy shit, so you don't want to go in there. Like you said, they're people at the end of the day, dog.
Right.
And we used to take out this one Puerto Rican dude who he was missing part of his hand because the reason he was in there, he had gone when he was stationed in Yuma. He was going to not Tijuana, to Mexicali. Illegally, he wasn't supposed to, and he was taking some younger ranking girls with them. And on the way back one day, he fell asleep behind the car and chocaron y se mataron las dos muchachas. So they charged him with involuntary manslaughter. And he was cool, but he had a mouth. And he would always fucking talk shit. And, you know, the MPs that were in there wouldn't say shit because they were like, hey, shut the fuck up. I can't remember his last name.
Right.
And we would take him out. He'd talk. We're like, yeah, whatever, fool. Yeah, fool. You know, come on, dog. No mames, way. Blah, blah, blah. And one day, dog, we were bringing him back. Actually, no, we were taking him out. And there was this un sargento güero. You know, I'm pretty sure you have them in the PD, those que you can't do wrong and shit.
Yeah. By the book.
This was talking, dog, the prisoner. Y le dice el güero, el sargento, you need to shut the fuck up. You know, in the military, pues así te hablan. You need to shut the fuck up, fucking inmate, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I'm a corporal, okay? So I'm a corporal. This was a sergeant. He's above me. But I'm looking at the sergeant like, what the fuck are you doing, dog? Like, hey, sergeant. He's like, corporal, I got this. And I was like,
no, you don't.
no mames, wait. And he's like, and then this was cuffed, okay? I have him fucking cuffed on his legs, his hands. And he's telling us like, what? The prisoner's telling him, fuck you. He's like, what? He's doing the knife hands because that's what they fucking do. Bro.
We call them rifle hands.
Rifle hands?
Yeah.
So we do our thing. This was pissed now, right? I don't know if he was having a bad day.
Now he's pissed and the sergeant left, right?
So we leave. Todos se van. El sergeant se va.
They take it out on you.
You gotta deal with him.
No. He was cool because they hey, wait, calma. He's like, no, that fucker pissed me off and blah, 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 blah. We come back to drop him off at the end of the day. Who's there?
Sergeant.
The sergeant with his prisoner. Now, mind you, dog, cuando nos traemos para atrás, we had to uncuff him to turn him into the ex-OMPs. Wait, I shit you not. We're chilling like this. He's turning his prisoner. I'm turning my prisoner. As soon as I uncuffed this fool, he turns around to the sergeant like, what the fuck did you just say? And the sergeant's looking at me, looking at him. I say, Sergeant, just shut the fuck up. I tell the sergeant, I can't talk to him like this, but I tell him, Sergeant, shut the fuck up and just walk away. Hey, wait, cálmate, wait, te van a dar más tiempo.
That's it.
He was like, dog, this was talking mad shit. I was like, I know, dog, but no sabe, güey. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they don't relate. Some people take things, and I get it, man. Sometimes you feel disrespected, and nowadays, especially the last couple of years, you know, people have been saying all kinds of things, coming up to cops and just fuck you, pig.
Hey, can they actually do that shit, bro?
Yeah,
like freedom of speech.
Just imagine if we took everybody to jail that cussed at us, bro. You know, there wouldn't be no room in jail.
I kind of like that idea because no traffic,
right?
Bro, I heard different because, like, I'm not gonna lie, dog.
You can't challenge people to a fight.
Like if I said, man, fuck you up, then you'll take my answer.
You
all right.
You could take it.
That's a threat, right?
Gotcha. But if I said, hey, wait, you can't do nothing to me.
I'll go like that.
See, those are cool. I'll be like, But there's some cops that are like, bloop, bloop, bloop.
And I've had parts like that. I'm like, and you work in a certain area, you're like, dude, you're going to do that. You're going to be pulling over and fighting every 10 minutes.
That's true.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
You know, and there's a time and a place for everything, right?
Yeah.
And most of the time, you got to think about it. You know, these guys that have been grown up and taught to do that kind of thing to police. My thing is, that's the highlight of their day, bro.
That's true.
The highlight of their day was flipping off a cop.
Hey, dog.
And I got away with it.
Oh, okay. Hey, guess what, dog? I'm going home and I'm gonna do this X, Y, and Z this weekend, right?
That's true.
You're gonna stay here, you know. And those, I mean, everybody deals with it a certain way, you know. But you can't let those kinds of that's nitpicky kind of stuff. That's
gotcha.
And granted, everybody has buttons, and we've all been there. We've all lost our cool or got pissed off about something. I was never particularly that way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem talking, so I could talk to somebody even if they just explaining something or kind of laughing it off and say, yeah, whatever, Vato, you ain't shit. You know what? You know, that kind of stuff. Some guys do. Some guys, like you said, they might have been having a bad, which is nowadays is no excuse. You know what I mean? You got to be able to let that stuff roll off. You know, especially that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's not. That kind of stuff is not against the law. But that's what I tell people, too, because a lot of people wonder, hey, he told me this and X, Y, and Z. I said, have you not heard of the term sticks and stones? You know what I mean? You know how many times I get told bad words and everything? Bad words isn't against the law. I can't take people to jail for that. I'm sorry.
Gotcha.
You know? And then they come back. So you're going to wait till something happens? I'm like, well, not something, but a crime, yeah. Then we'll deal with that, you know? But, yeah, that's working where I've worked. that's just the nature of the business, man.
And I think that's important. Something is bringing up community policing, relating.
Yeah.
Because even in our culture, Mexican growing up, as little kids, we're kind of scared of police officers, and we're kind of instilled that fear, like, oh, si no te portas bien, I'm gonna call the police.
That's another thing we got to get rid of.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've told people that they're like, because it still happens, you know. And they were like, "Mira, está el policía, te va a llevar."
Yeah.
I said, no, "You can't do that. You can't do that nowadays. You have to. Mira, ahí está el policía. Ve, salúdalo."
Exactly.
You know, you start building a different rapport from a very young age. We're all the same way.
Yeah.
Te voy a decir el policía, mira, si no te portas bien, te van a llevar. That's something I get it. It's cultural and it's been going on forever. But now when you talk about what's going on now, that's something that you shouldn't be doing. You wouldn't do that to your kids, to anybody else.
Yeah, of course.
You don't do that to anybody else. I started, you know, to the cartero or anybody else, you know, the policeman. Mira, si no te portas bien, te vaya.
Maybe we should start that, bro. We should start a new movement. El cartero te va a llevar, güey.
Exactly, right?
Or like the lechero thing.
That's that no manches, right? Like, no manches, way, you know? That's exactly that. But you know, that stuff there is that's one of, and I still tell people, and I said, don't be saying that.
Yeah.
I said, because, you know, more than likely that's going to plant a seed moving forward where those people are not going to be able to either trust us or have a relationship with us where we might be able to help these kids or even just set them up for a different outlook moving forward in life. Where an outlook, not necessarily where you care so much about the police, where it doesn't affect you that way.
Gotcha.
You know, where it doesn't become such a, because I've dealt with people there, you know, and I get it. There's scars there.
Yeah.
From prior history of law enforcement, right? Which happened a lot longer before me, right? But there's still generational things that have been handed down.
Yeah.
You know, where that takes a lot to be able to, as a parent or as somebody that's gone through trauma, to say, let's look at this differently. Things have changed. A lot of people don't have that mental fortitude, don't have that, they haven't had that recovery where they're able to say, okay, not all of them are that way. All they say is, they're no good, stay away from them because of what they went through 30 years ago.
Gotcha.
You know, so part of that is, it's difficult to do that, you know, to restrain yourself so much from your experiences to say, that's kind of changed now, you should probably approach them a different way. They're more community engaged. Their whole department's look has changed. The community policing, but it's difficult. You know, there is scars there. There is a lot of damage that was done in the past. But it helps with just kind of giving people the opportunity to say, well, the police are there. We need them, and that's that. You know, it's nothing that's going to drive me every day and, you know, sit on the corner and say, here, screw you, there they go, the bad guys. Because there's people that really do that. They fix it on that all day. Yeah. But it makes you wonder, too, if they're sitting on that same corner or that same porch all day long while you drive around, they're not doing much. Yeah. They're not doing much other than waiting for the cops to drive around.
I think what's happened is people see a uniform now. They don't really see a person anymore. Mm-hmm. I think it's just like they see the badge, the uniform, and then the police car, and it's like, it's a police officer. They don't know that it's Chris.
Yeah. And everything that's going wrong in their lives or has gone wrong,
deflected onto that.
Even with government or things they see or what they've been told to politicians or media and everything else, has been pointed at the police. When we're the last people, we show up when it's the last ditch effort for the most part. You know, when the people call us at anywhere is when they cannot control a situation at home or with their family or wherever they're at anymore. That's the truth of the matter. We don't really. Some people don't really call the police, right? I've never called the police really in my whole life growing up. But when you're called sometimes, and it's because they have no other choice. Whether they dislike you or not, they had to call, you know? And that's one of the things you have to consider too, you know? You're showing up to places where, you know, you're the last ditch effort for whatever's going on that day, you know? But they don't know who you are personally. They just know you're calling a faction of a system that might go this way or that way. You know, and generally we show up and some people are going to be happy. The other side is going to be mad. It's never the fire department shows up, everybody's happy, right? For the most part. We show up. If we do something, the people that we do it to even if we're right, no matter what, they're not happy. Who likes to see their loved ones go to jail unless you're the person that called, right?
Yeah.
And so there always leaves that the police took my daddy or mommy or something. And then if we don't, and if hey, there's no crime here, sorry, we went, pinche policía no hacen nada.
Yeah.
So you're never, if you do or if you don't, it's kind
Damned
of,
if you do, damned if you
you're
don't.
not
Yeah.
we're not in the position, we're not in the people liking this position. We're here to do a job when we've done a better job at engaging the community and kind of having them understand us, like you said, trying to get to know me, and that works, because I policed in an area for a long time when
Well,
people.
like you said, they're basically you, a younger version, same
Yeah.
culture, same. You understand their issues, their problems.
But even then, they get to see you, and they know you by your life, but they know you as a person, and they've seen you around the same area, and they see that you care. Like I patrolled in Southeast from 2004 to 2018 before I promoted, and I did patrol every day for that time, and it was one of the best jobs I ever had. And the harshest of communities, the most violent of communities, the most anti-police communities at one point will respect you based on how you carry yourselves within that community. The respect you give, the same thing, the way you police. They know. Mm-hmm. They know what kind of cop you are. They know if you're going to be fair, if you're going to be this, or what you're after and what you're doing. These people know. You're not, he's out for the big fish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's not where, and that goes a long way when they see you every day and they see the kind of work you do. And it's a respect, and people respect that. Especially they get to know you behind the badge. That goes a long way. So that's a lot of what, it's hard to do in a big city. People move around a lot. But the only way you get to do it is you really got to have a vested interest in being part of the community and exposing yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
I definitely think that's the way it has to go from here on out.
Yeah.
I think people relating and just daily issues. People have bad days. Police officers have bad days, and I think more of an understanding.
Yeah.
So you go from one uniform to the other, right?
Yeah, man.
But you actually wear your badge with your mariachi.
Sometimes I have. I did that for a little. There's times I still do department events where we have a few officers that we had a group put together. It was never a full group because we never had any violence, so we had to use some outsiders. But it was almost a full mariachi band made up of law enforcement.
Oh, so there's other
cool.
police officers that you work with.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So I have about 4 guys with the LAPD, and then there was a Riverside Sheriff, 2 girls over there. At first, we used a couple of guys from the CDC that also played, and then there's another guy that's worked for San Diego Sheriffs right now. So it was a different group, and we were able to get together. It's difficult though,
Yeah.
because everybody's different divisions, different departments, different watches. So it's hard schedules, life things. I'm the only one that's kind of fully in it, full time, that had been doing it before it became a department activity, so to speak. But it's hard to. People got their own lives, so we were able to put together a couple of things.
Do you guys have a group name, bro?
Yeah, we did it for a while, and now
La
it's
Placa?
right.
What do you guys call yourselves?
No, so the thing I came up with is Mariachi Los Servidores.
Oh, okay.
Is that where the song came from?
Yeah.
We'll talk about that
Yeah.
one later.
Yeah, so that's kind of something that when we started to do this project, I'd been invited or looked into this mariachi festival that's in Boyle Heights at Mariachi Plaza every year for Santa Cecilia. So for that, when I'm talking to the organizers, I said, "Oh, well, we can do this, but I'm going to use a predominantly law enforcement mariachi band." And the guy looks at me like, well, kind of stays quiet, like, "Are you serious?" I'm like, "Yeah, just trust me. There's a few people that play. There's about 5 LAPD guys. It's and that." He's like, oh, "Okay, we'll see how this goes, right?" And we put it together. We did that performance, and the thing kind of went viral off of that one. And it was a good reception. I mean, inherently, our the people in our industry, our communities, they don't have that hatred towards us. They just don't. They respect what we do. They know what we mean to them. But to see us doing mariachi, they're like, oh, more like, it's back to what we were talking to, right?
Yeah.
It's cool. The cops are doing it too. Look, they're like us too, right? So that's the same kind of thing that we're talking about with the tequila, right?
Yeah.
But if you ever want to see something really political, go to these that video that it was like 3 million views, and talk about nobody ever being happy.
You almost got canceled.
See, no, just see the comments on that video. Well, of course, that's L.A. What do you expect? You know, oh, they're gonna go arrest you guys right after they're done. So it was comments. It was nobody's ever happy. It was half and half, mostly positive, but it was half and half. Like,
bro. But the thing with the internet, bro, is fuck. It opens
That's where
up
people are bullies now.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's
You
so
can post
easy
something and you don't have to respond
exactly.
to it.
There's no repercussions.
Nothing.
You talk shit.
Yeah, that's it.
You ain't gonna get your ass beat.
You ain't afraid
You
of
ain't
getting
gonna get
punched in the
arrested.
mouth, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. You can do whatever you want there.
Exactly. So you gotta.
Right.
I'm sure
But
you gotta think skin, right?
Yeah. I don't. That kind of stuff. I would not be doing either job if I let those kinds of things bother me. You know, you got to just be crazy enough to have something that you want to do, but have follow through to be able to do these kinds of things. You know, when I first started doing these things, I'm sure a lot of people thought I was nuts. People that I knew, hey, I'm gonna sing, and you know, as a mariachi, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. I had these ideas in my head, and things I was gonna put together. Oh, watch mariachi festival, shit like that. I was like, okay, Chris, cool. I'd get those looks. Yeah, Chris, cool, sure. And then as things started, you know, start talking to certain people, and things start coming to light, and things start coming through. Then you're not so crazy no more, right? Then you see like, oh, okay, well, this is what it was about, you know. And more so with the mariachi music, you know, the impact is. So I had been doing it before. I was already a cop, but I was already singing and kind of, so to speak, working on my voice and trying to learn a lot of what singing entailed, right? Because I liked it, but I didn't know much that way. Vocal coach and just being more involved. But I had a lot of success early, man. It was just like almost too much. But, you know, I started, I did the Hollywood Bowl in 2010. I was in Guadalajara in 2009. I did these events, you know, House of Blues, Grove of Anaheim with Mariachi Vargas, like different things. And this was all before anybody really at the police department knew that I was even singing, like moonlighting on the side, because I kept them separate. And then it's like, okay, now what? Because that's you know, those are some of the highest at a certain point levels of music in that category, right? Yeah. And then it's either you go from there to the next phase, which nobody's really going to the next phase of Vicente anymore that way. Okay, so now what? Now how do you sustain if you want to keep doing this? So I started, you know, kind of doing my own little shows and staying visible, you know, as well as I could, because I had some knowledge of venues and had worked in the clubs or those kinds of things. So I was able to do little things to stay busy. Started working on did some music recordings and things, and then just out of the blue, the police thing came about. They asked me to be part of an event, community policing thing, where they put together a quinceañera for a 15-year-old girl from LA who was sick herself with like cerebral palsy kind of thing, but her mom was terminally ill. They had given her a couple months to live. So we're going to put together this quinceañera for her before the mom passes away. Can you do the music? I'm like, yeah, it's some mariachis. What do you guys, you know? No, sing a couple of songs. It's going to be a quinceañera style. It's a permanent event here. And they're like, hey, can you sing in uniform? I'm like, nope. And I just didn't sing in police uniform. Yeah. Like, no, I was big on, I have my nice trajes. This is what I show up in. This is the way you're supposed to do it. This is the way Chente does it. You know what I mean? Yeah, everybody's like, no, I'm going to show up. I got the suit. So they're like, oh, you know, they asked, it would be good if you did, you know? Because these people were already on another level with the community policing stuff. You know, they were already involved in the community that way. And I was kind of against it because I was trying to make my own way, one way without the other one, you know?
Yeah, separate the two.
I wanted to say I earned my way both ways without a certain way. So I was like, oh, no, I'll just do it the certain way. So we show up, and I have my suit with me and everything else. I'm in police uniform, and it's a lot of cops there. A real small family, a lot of police officers there. So I'm like, okay, it's not a big deal. I'll sing a song or two in uniform and thinking that's it, right? It's not a big deal. I didn't know there was media there. They were kind of hidden somehow, right? As soon as I start singing in uniform, the lights go on, and they recorded it, and they put it on the Spanish media, and things started going that way, and that's when in my head, it clicked. Like, oh, okay, so this is what I was supposed to do. This is what all this had leading up my whole childhood and
This is the next step.
This is the
That's
next step. This is the next step, but not only the next step. This is what I was meant to do.
Okay.
Is community. I was put in these positions with music and all these doors and put them together to affect this kind of situation, to use this as a bridge. You know, this is the platform that I was supposed to be on.
What better bridge than music, man?
Oh, there's nothing like it. Especially cultural music, one that sounds like mariachi. You know.
You know, one song that I really love was your Together mariachi version. I don't know if you had a chance to hear it, but it's pretty much essentially an oldies, mostly Chicano oldies, and with mariachi and
East LA oldies. Like,
yeah,
that was a Tierra cover from an old East LA group, and that was always a song that was, to me, it was something I heard growing up. You know, the older homies that were listening to it, and it always stuck. But it always stood around and stood the test of time, right? And then once I got to know, you know, where these guys came from, and you know, what it must have meant to them, coming from East LA at that time, you know, in the '70s, to be at that level and be recognized as a Chicano band, where, you know, and how difficult that is, you know, and what they did. So I was like, oh, that's pretty dope. Plus the song is just great.
Yeah.
You know, it's a classic kind of love song kind of thing, right? So I always had this idea that I wanted to do that, a crossover kind of song. And I had it in the back of my head literally for like 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And it took about a year to produce, to find the right people to do it. I just didn't want to, I knew it was a good idea. I just didn't want to screw it up. And I didn't think it was going to become what it became that way. But just like I said, the world's aligned again. Jimmy Humilde was able to help me out with his cars and the recording of the video, which put it on another level, right? Now with his platform. And he didn't even know what was going on, because we met him through his associate, one of the three heads was Rocky, and Rocky's a brother-in-law with one of my co-workers, Small World, Small World. So it's just like, hey, you know, so we knew each other. They had been community involved with us a couple of years back when we did some shows at the Watts Towers, and they helped out, and they had wanted to get involved with it more so even now. And so came down to film this video, and I was telling my buddy, I said, hey man, we got to film that video. I need lowriders. I said, you know, I don't know what I was gonna do. I was thinking of different places, so I said, hit him up. You know, see what Rocky says, and he said, all right, he's gonna hit Jimmy up, like that. He says, yeah, shit's down. You could do it 2 days later. 2 days later, I said, where we're gonna do it? He said, oh, Jimmy's house. Jimmy opens his doors to us. We go. He pulls all the lowriders out. Call him mariachi. Says, hey, we can't fuck this up now. So I need you guys there, because you know they were like, oh, I can't this day. It's too early. Oh, we drank
you got no
last night.
choice.
I said, hey man, now we got this. You know, the guy and my buddy who's mariachi was producing. He's also producing the video and the song. I said, we got to do this. You got to get the guys. You know, I said, Jimmy's opening his house. I said, you know, and so Jimmy, we're doing that filming there. All the cars lined up, and halfway through, Jimmy comes out. He's like, what the fuck is that? You know, he's like, what? He's like, I ain't never heard no shit like that, you know? And he's all about, you know him, he's all about new shit and promoting Mexican-American culture, and he's all about that. And so we chopped it up, and we put that together, and then when it came out, and he was cool that day, you know, hey, thanks, man, thanks for that. Cool dude, though. Just after it comes out, then he hits me on the side. He's like, hey, you know, let's talk, you know? So we talked, and there was some other opportunities there, you know. But at the end of the day, and we're gonna work on another lowrider remake kind of song, because there is something there for that. You know, that lowrider scene, and it's exploded huge again. Those things are big.
Even in Japan, have you guys seen those? The whole Chicano.
That's been big for a long time.
Yeah. When I was in Japan back in 2003. Yeah. Shit.
Since then, they started shipping them to Japan. That's always been there. They took that culture a long time ago.
But that's a great idea, because honestly, one of the reasons why I liked it so much is because I'm Mexican American. Right. My dad, I was raised on oldies, and you know, my mom full 100% Mexican, mariachi, banda, and things like that.
Your dad was also first generation Chicano, or second?
Yeah, first.
Yeah, you're second, right?
So
yeah.
So kind of just that fusion, and it kind of related to me. You know what I mean? Because I'm not trying to compare situations, but I'm kind of in the middle. I'm Mexican and I'm American, and you kind of fuse both of those.
We're unique
cultures together, man. Yeah. And
it's definitely, being Mexican American is great, but it's best of both worlds.
Exactly.
You know? and we have so much to represent, right? And a platform that we have that's our own. It's not fully Mexican. It's very American, right? We're American first, but we have our own Mexican American culture.
Yeah.
So I think this one, the only other thing that that I wanted to do that I wasn't able to do on this one is I wanted to take it back to Whittier Boulevard again, and I wanted to put all the lowriders out there and film a piece there.
Yeah, cruising through the street.
That's the
But
only other.
we'll get arrested, dog. Remember, you guys don't want us to cruise there and shit.
Well, there's certain ways around that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
We'll do it with permission at a certain point. But yeah, that worked out really good, and but like I said, at the end of the day, there's still certain obstacles. I am a cop, and I'm not gonna take any of that away to further something else because that is part of who I am. So people want, and it's unfortunate because most of the people that have tried to almost make me less Mexican, less of my own culture, has been my own people.
Yeah.
Because they don't see me as Mexican American anymore. They see you just as a cop. You're blue, right?
Yeah, I think that goes back to the whole Mexican American thing. I think that's why I've kind of mentioned that because to Mexicans we're not 100% Mexican.
Oh, absolutely.
To Americans, because of our skin color,
Right.
we're not 100% American.
Yeah.
So we're like in that fine line, and I'm not comparing the situation with
Right.
obviously immigrants and things like
Right.
that, but we are kind of stuck in the middle. We kind of do have
It's
our
unique,
own.
so we created our own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the positive part of it. We were so unique that we did create our own culture.
Yeah.
Since then, and you may not see it growing up, but once you get a little older and you get away from there, you realize how important that culture is.
Yeah.
And how it formed you and how people respond to it. That together thing. The replies and the memories and people that hit me up all through social media was deep. It was deep. Unfortunately, both those. The Rudy Salas and Steve Salas passed away this last year, both of them. Steve was able to hear it. The family reached out, but it brought back people so much of that pride. Like look at all these cultures, everything from our cultures coming together. And I didn't, like I said, I wasn't doing it for those reasons. It was just something that to me was available, and it's something that felt natural with those things. So people accept it because that's who we are.
Yeah.
But that's one of those things where, like I said, there's people that no matter what
You do. No
I
matter
do or anything like that, they try to take away, and that's cool. I get that. I understand the times we're living. It's not gonna stop me.
No.
That's not gonna stop.
And actually, one thing you're doing is you're using your policing and your music to kind of help as well.
Right.
Not just in the community, but you started a nonprofit, correct?
Absolutely. So that's where we went to after that. Once we started getting involved with the community affairs and events. The first event we did at Watts Towers. So that's the good thing about being a police officer still is I was able to walk into a school in Watts. And people are like, hey, what do you, usually you're there. It's a bad thing, right? What's going on? And I
Who
was
are you
like,
gonna pick up?
I'm
Usually it was what you were picking up Mike.
It was him, yeah.
Mike. So I said, no, I'm just here to look for the music program. And they're like, huh? And so I would go to schools and hit people up like that. And we started a thing called Violence, Not Violence.
Cool.
With my partner.
Which is a real catchy name. I like that.
Yeah. So he had the instrument facilities, right? That's his business. And with me, with my outreach and the ability to go and reach out to people that way. Because once you reach out, it's an official department. People are like, okay, well, what's this about, right?
Yeah.
But the people I reached out to, like this, man. The first people I said, oh, this is going to be easy. So the first teacher was like, hey, I'm LAPD. I got this thing going on. We're having an event here. So we want to present your kids with some instruments. This is the nonprofit that we're starting. We weren't a nonprofit yet. And these music teachers and these teachers that work in these neighborhoods, they're all about, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? Yes, what do I need to do? The first one was like, any instrument you give me, that's an extra kid in my class. We don't have instruments for them.
Yeah.
We have kids that are going to high school next year. If they go to high school and they don't have an instrument, they can't play music.
Yeah, because they don't have the.
I'm like, you don't think about this, right?
Yeah.
It's not. She's like, yeah, they're going to high school, and the school they're going to, if they don't have their own instrument, they're not going to be able to take the class.
Wow.
No, and honestly, that's true because I remember. I think I would have picked up an instrument if I could afford it. when I did it.
Right.
So
Those are, and then there's all these other studies, right? Kids that do music, their grades are better. They stay out of trouble. They're likely to stay out of gangs, right? The musicians that I deal with, which had a lot to do with it, mariachis and mariachis that were born here or whatnot. But if it weren't for mariachi or music, I'd either be dead or in jail, bro.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Gives them a way to make. We do an emphasis on mariachi, obviously. We give them a way to pick up what's been proven. These guys find a way to make some money. If you learn, you're gonna be able to make some kind of money if you learn how to play mariachi music or music in general, right? You're always gonna have a kind of a skill, right?
yeah,
So those were all positive factors. That there's no negative to it. So I had the ability to do some outreach, and then we started putting shows together and raising money on my performances, on our performance, and our events for that foundation. And then we just started, one way or another, people would come across. Somebody got robbed. Oh, they took their violin. Somebody, come across a victim, or somebody else said, oh, well, her dream was to do, play music and this and that. So we find a way to, oh, this school wants to start a mariachi program. It's a band. It was a school in Compton, Rancho Dominguez. So we found a way, got on TV, did a fundraiser, did something, got them some instruments and some moños and stuff like that to start. And that's the way, community policing works too. Based off those contacts, I've had some things come about. They say, hey, detective, I need to talk to you about something.
gotcha.
And they feel comfortable coming to me and saying, this happened, or I heard about this, or, information or just problem solving, right? But they come to you porque ya te tienen confianza, Now it's like, hey, now you're not really talking. Now it's like, I'm not even a cop anymore. It's like, oh, it's a mariachi that knows cop people, right? So they come to me with certain things, and that's the way the relationship is supposed to work, with that kind of stuff. Because now you've taken any of that edge off, because of our interaction with the kids or through music. But at the end of the day, to some of them, it's like, oh, okay, well, hey, I have this little problem, or I have this, and they'll be able to come with me knowing that I'm not going to lead them a certain way. I'm not going to get them into trouble. I'm not going to get, depending on what it is. So they have that confianza now. So that's where that really kind of helps. And you see how that module or how that model works with that community-based policing kind of thing,
Cool.
So that's been a blessing, and that's still going forward. I got this event that I'm doing here in March 27th, which is part of that too. Everything that we do is usually for a cause. There's always something that we're doing, not just to do, I have my main job, not just to make money or anything like that, but it's always for a good cause behind it, and to bring community together, and to bring different walks of life and people that I've been able to meet, and get involved with, and it helps the conversations. And you realize, especially as Latinos and Mexican, we're not too far apart on anything. We're really like a hair apart on most of the things. The big issues are not, we either don't talk about it, or there's something that's holding us back from literally progressing, though, at the same time, because we are not overall. We're the majority, right? But we're not there yet.
Yeah.
We're holding each other back. We're not. Little things are driving us apart.
It's because I think we've talked about this in the past, where it's culturally we've been told you can't do that, or you're supposed to do this,
Or
not
survival of the fittest, essentially, as well.
So it's something like you said. It's about educating each other,
Right.
And telling us, nah, like you don't have to be a construction worker, dog. You don't have to do this. You don't have to be that.
Right.
You could be whatever the fuck you want.
You could be whatever you want.
Exactly.
Because everybody's already done it now.
Exactly.
It's something there, but you realize that you have so many more things in common with people when you're out in these environments. And so I've been blessed to have some amazing experiences and deal with certain people because of the music, and so I think it's important that I'm able to use those platforms that I've been given and the opportunities that I have to try to do my best.
Cool.
To unite people and to move forward from where we're at,
Cool.
Because that's just something that's important, especially for, our gente and our community and, the city of LA and all that kind of stuff. It's difficult, man. Things are pretty bad right now in a lot of senses, but like everything else, there's a really silent majority of a community that need help, that are hardworking, that ain't about the BS that's going on about in the world, that we need to unite with, and that's part of what keeps me going and working and doing things, trying to be positive. Is because I know the truth is on a day-to-day basis with the people that really need what we do to go to work, to go to school, to get their lives done. All they want to be do is left alone. They just want to be left alone. They want a safe space. They came from another country or something. They just want a space to work and get their family ahead. Yes. And they know what we provide in those areas, and they've quietly been very supportive over the last couple of years, more than I've ever had in my 20 years as a cop. I've received more support from those communities in the last couple of years than I ever have. But overall, they're a silent majority.
Yeah,
they don't make noise. They don't go to demonstrations. They don't do none of that stuff. But they're quiet worker bees.
They're just about their their day, going to work.
That's it.
Coming home, providing for the family.
The same people went to work. Different presidents, different this, different that. The very next day, those same people went to work.
Yeah.
Nothing has changed for them. They just want to go to work.
Yep.
So this for those people that we do, kind of keep grinding away. And I'm blessed, right now, you see things that are going on all over the world. And we're here filming and going to have a michelada later and beautiful weather.
Sure, man.
Beautiful weather. And we're blessed.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate still. So it's important to try to keep that going and pay it back a little, the best that you can when you have platforms and people that are willing to work with you. So it's important. It's important to keep doing those kinds of things.
I completely agree.
Because we need it.
Yeah. I think before we move on to our No Manches segment, tell us a little bit about the show, because it's actually here locally. It's in Covina.
Yeah. So this show, I had looked into doing the show there, really nice small venue, about 200 people in Covina a couple years ago. Pandemic comes, and like many other things were canceled for a lot of reasons. In 2020, I got a lot of things canceled, whether because I was canceled because I was a cop, right? Like there was that kind of cancellation on a couple of things. And then it was just COVID kind of took a lot of things away. So, I kind of had to rebuild myself a couple of ways, and some people stuck by me, and I was able to do some real chingon things, the SoFi thing and those kinds of events to stay busy and in some community events. But I always had this theater in the back of my mind. So I was looking into the venue, and then this police officer passed away in January, the one that was robbed and killed in
off
Florence.
duty, right?
Yeah. Fernando Arroyos. So I had done something virtual 2 years ago for a police officer that was murdered at the taco spot on Avenue 26. He was off duty as well. The taggers were tagging. He shows up. He gets shot. Juan Jose Diaz. So I did a virtual event, raised some money for his family. Posthumous transfer. He wanted to work Holland back. Did a presentation. It was a really good thing. It went very well for being virtual. Met the family, just to offer, a little of that support, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes things get missed, and when you're working with a department, and it's overwhelming, but culturally, might be some little things that we could think of when we're dealing with some of our people, right? So this one was at a different division, and where he died was near our division though. So our division was involved in that process that night he was murdered. And so I was looking at this event, and then the kid was killed. And after all of that, I was putting this together, and some people come to me like, hey, we're doing a fundraiser, like an internal fundraiser for the family, X, Y, and Z, to raise some, money, or, just like a celebration kind of thing. I said, well, what are you guys doing? So we talked, and I said, well, I'm doing this already. I said, so why don't I just put anything that I get from here and add it to yours, and then we could, present that as a package and go from there. But I'll do my part because of this event, I would like them there. And I kind of, so I did reach out to the family, and like everything else, there was the kid was, inner city kids, first generation, was helping a lot of people in his family. Was helping, he had a mom, helping his grandfather, elderly grandfather, and he was taking care of business, and so there was a lot of pieces to pick up there. So it was another one of those things where this is going well. Wish we could do more and do it bigger, but it was one of those things where I'm just glad that I'm able to do something like that for these people that lost everything.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? That literally they just didn't. You lose a son, and then you lose a son that way. This girl she lost his fiance that is survived by, and these people lost a son, a family member, an income. There's a lot of stuff there. So there's a lot of pieces to pick up there. So we're doing that in his name, celebration of life, and we're gonna do, put some of that together with the other event that we're doing, and just try to honor these people. These are not because they're like I tell people, not because they were police officers. That is why we're honoring them. Although they were extraordinary community kids. Both of these guys come directly from the community, which people are screaming about nowadays, right? We want our police officers to look like us. We want them from our community. We want them to be able to understand us. Both these kids were that.
Gotcha.
And these people, anybody's kids shouldn't be dying in these neighborhoods like that.
Yeah.
Not I mean, it hits us more because it's our family, it's our police family, but it's a neighborhood son dying in the streets of LA for what?
Yeah.
That's one of those things where it should be shocking to all the community to say these kids who had done by all means everything right, college, everything that they were taking care of the families in the city, wanted to help the city, wanted to be the community, and they get shot down like that.
It's kind of like a slap to the face, huh?
It's so demoralizing.
Yeah.
It's so demoralizing on so many levels. Like where these kids, you think about it, what they're trying to do, right? And even at this point, like I would tell people, you really want to be a cop right now, man?
Yeah.
But some people, like you said, you want to go to war, right? And when you want to go to the military, that's when people join.
Yeah.
They see this on the wall, and they're like, I can be the fix. I can be the fix.
Yeah.
And these kids get killed off duty during those things. To families that struggle to bring them up, that, made these people. And these are all just kids in the neighborhood. These are all our own community kids that shouldn't be dying that way. And being a police officer is just something that's added, but it shouldn't be happening to anybody that way.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why it's just more of we have to come together around these things to understand that they shouldn't be happening to anybody. And we understand that growing up in certain places, because you understand the gang life, right?
Yeah.
We understand it. You dealt with it a certain way growing up. You weren't about that. You understand what they did, and that was that, right? But this kind of stuff, it's like, really?
Yeah.
It tests your faith, and you have to put, if you have faith, you have to put all your faith into, God, because it makes you question. Like these kids were all about trying to do good in a time when nobody wants to.
Yeah.
And that happens. So, there's a lot of heartstrings there, and it's unfortunate, much so for society, that these things are happening, and people take something like that for people to see what's going on, like the stuff that's been going on lately with those follow home robberies, and it gets noticed because it's happening to other people now, where generally it doesn't happen.
Not just in the inner cities, yeah.
It's no news there. Usually it's no news unless it was a cop, right?
Yeah.
This is something like that. It happens all the time. I've seen it happen for 20 years. Now it's news because it's in Sherman Oaks, Encino, Beverly Hills. And they're like, hey, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
That's every day. These guys are just getting, because of certain things that they know that are going on, they're able to go out and move around and start getting more profits, right?
Yeah.
Because there's less accountability. So they're starting to move around.
Better stuff.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Better stuff. But now they're starting to open people's eyes like, hey,
Yeah,
it's been happening every day in the inner city for years, man.
Yeah.
It's not till it happens, near you, then you're like, hey, let's do something about this.
And it's always been like that. That's the fucked part, dog.
No, it's true.
There should be a no manches right there.
That's been a straight no manches, bro.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I'm a detective. Is I love doing police work, but I saw a lot of gente getting robbed,
Cool.
and I took it personal, and I didn't like that. So that's what led me to try and apprehend robbery suspects. And that's what I dedicated myself to, which eventually led me to a life as a detective, because that's one thing. Everybody finds their own motivations, right? I became a cop once I was working on there. That's what motivated me, is when you are picking on innocent people, beating them and robbing them.
Yeah.
In that neighborhood, people that don't have much.
Yeah.
Paleteros, loteros, all that kind of
Oh
stuff.
yeah, I hate that shit.
I saw. Now it kind of makes every now and then viral stuff, and I've seen that forever.
No, I know. I when I grew up in El Monte, I used to hear that Lotero used to get robbed right there on the 7-Eleven. I don't know if you're familiar with El Monte, but on Ramona and the 7-Eleven on Ramona and El Monte,
Oh,
the
okay,
Cholillos would always fucking
I was just there the other night too.
yeah, they would rob the
I
Lotero,
was
bro.
like, shoot, scared me now.
So Lotero would be like,
yeah.
hey, bro, how come it's back then? I remember it was 50 cents,
Yeah.
and it was like, what? 75 cents. I'm like, why 75 cents, bro? Oh, we gotta make up money. You know, we've been getting robbed. I was like, damn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But anyways, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to our no manches section.
That was the first no manches. Right?
That was the first no manches.
Yeah, you have a couple.
that was the one right
So,
there.
Cisco, you want to explain what the no manches is, so that
Essentially, no manches is just as Mexicans, you know what the counter to that is, the inappropriate way to say no mames.
Right.
But it's just something. It could be a pet peeve. It can be something that just happened in the local news, or just something that you can relate to. That's
it
like,
could be serious, it could be funny,
Yeah.
something
Right.
that you would say, or anybody would be like, no manches way. You know?
Like Niner fans that become Dodger fans.
oh man,
No, that's my first no manches. No
Hey,
manches.
you know how the Mexican is instilled in us. The Niner I was born and raised. It's in the blood, man. I can't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I never understood that.
I can't.
So you're generational Niner fan.
Generational, yeah.
All right, you get a pass because Southern California, we usually don't cheer for anything from Northern California, right? It's just
Because the Giants, yeah, I know it's weird.
Giants, or even like from LA to Boston, we don't cheer.
Raiders is a different story, dog.
Well, the Raiders it's a nation, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's why,
So-
from what I understand, it's a nation. So anywhere they go, it's still a nation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, the nation is more of a movement, right? That's what I understand. But I think Vegas is everybody's home, anyways.
True.
So I think that's
I
probably
think that's the perfect home for anything.
that's what I think. It's probably the best place for them
Yeah.
because their people come from all over the world.
Exactly.
There, so I
Money.
think that kind of worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is? Do you have an actual no manches, or was that your no manches?
That was one of them. I mean, I
Throwing a
don't know.
pedrada at me?
No, a quick one, just a quick jab. I mean, I could do no manches about law enforcement or like this other thing I saw on TV. Did you guys see the helicopter that was up top over a police chase and the guys couldn't find them?
Yeah.
That was gonna be my
He
no
was-
manches, but all right.
I'll say it. There's two no manches there. Okay, two of them. One of them, everybody that's commenting from social media and including Stu Mandel was in the airship. No manches, man. How many of you guys have chased somebody on foot and it looks right there? How are they missing them?
Yeah, they got the overhead view.
All
like-
of it, right? All these experts come out, right? All these experts come out and say, how the LAPD is doing. If you've never chased nobody that way, it's hard, man. I've walked, and this was that night, I walked past with a dog in the canine search and a helicopter and everybody else. We walked right by the suspect twice. Okay, on the way out, the dog missed him. Remember the guy in the airship says, "Hey guys, you guys want to check under that table real quick? There's heat coming from underneath it. Just take a look."
Yeah.
That's where the dude was at. We walked by him twice. Dog's not supposed to miss him.
Yeah.
And this is something we're doing slow. These cops,
It was a high speed chase. They
these
got
guys
out.
were up and they're running
adrenaline
everywhere.
going, yeah.
So all that stuff when they were like, everybody's screaming like, no manches, slow down. and then for the cops that were there, no manches, slow down también. No, we've all been there. We've all missed stuff. but you gotta slow down a little bit. You know,
No, but that fool
That was a
fucking looked
double, no
underneath the
Manches.
car.
Huh?
He looked underneath the car.
he didn't look to the back though. You know,
Yeah.
and that's the bird's eye view, and even in a police car and everything else. You don't know. I mean, it gives you the end of it. You don't see how far back they were, what they saw. I mean, even then, it looks like he looks, and then he starts looking at the gate, and the guy's still there. You know,
Bro, but this vato was gordito, dog. And this fucker took off in a big alley. Like, you telling me you can't catch? Like, you guys are not gonna catch him?
It looked like they were far behind, because the car drove right up to so it looked like he had a good lead on him. But if you haven't seen like or chased somebody like that, I've seen people hiding.
I mean, people can't catch their kids.
Yeah, and people lose their kids in plain sight, literally hiding in plain sight. And you're like, God damn, how did I miss that? You know, people hiding in a closet. Somebody missed somebody in a closet one day.
Yeah.
Until somebody saw knees sticking out of the ropa. You know what I mean? So it happens, but that one was like no manches on both sides, right? No manches for the guys in the helicopter who's usually good, but it's like he's screaming like these guys are gonna hear him.
He's right there.
Right there. And of course the memes go up, right? And
I've seen the GTA one. They're comparing it to GTA.
Are they?
They were saying like he's looking for the door that leads to the garage, to safe.
And I saw that one. I said, "Oh, this one's gonna go big." And sure enough, that one. I'm curious to see how many views that one's got. But that was the latest one that got to me that I could say easily. That's no manches on a couple for a couple of reasons. You know.
What department was that, bro?
That was LAPD.
LAPD?
I think that was. Yeah, that's why they hit it so hard.
You weren't there, were you?
No.
You gotta tell your comrades there, like, hey.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm sure they did. I'm sure. I mean, but having been involved in those things, and that's what our helicopter wasn't there yet.
Gotcha.
That was the news, right?
Yeah. So that's what we use the helicopter. The helicopter. Once we get, hey guys, shop number 459, turn to your right at the corner of that fence. He's hiding right at the rear quarter panel of that car.
But you guys have direct communication at that
Exactly. But with these guys, we don't. So these guys are thinking. I would have thought the guy jumped the fence too.
Yeah.
If you see a fence there, you think he's jumped it.
Hey, but some of those fools try to jump it, and they're like, I don't think I could jump it.
It's hard, bro. I've seen some jumping a fence is hard in uniform. There's some guys that are good at it, but when you're wearing a full vest and belt and everything else, jumping those kind of radar fences.
Hey, bro, are the uniforms stretchy?
No.
Well, I'm just saying, like, 'cause you motherfuckers,
my jeans are stretchy, not those
no,
uniforms.
because like you said, you guys are wearing all that shit, and it's like, it's
wool, man. Damn, we don't stretch at all.
So you guys are like, órale.
So and it's like 30 pounds too, you know. So you gotta be pretty fit just to run around and that stuff. But jumping fences is no joke.
Yeah.
You know, and that was a big red iron fence, but I'm pretty sure you get there, you see a corner, you see a driveway, you're gonna see a fence. You're probably thinking he jumped over it.
Well, he wanted to, but he couldn't.
He wasn't gonna do it. So that helps a lot with once our airship gets up, it's gonna lead you direct. They got a bird's eye view of everything. And even then, sometimes with some guys were just good. But once our airship's up and they're giving us direct orders, se acabó. But I'm sure these guys got told on no manches too at their station.
If they hear it, hey, no manches.
Yeah, over there, they're like, hey, bro, you know, it kind of looks bad. You know, you guys got to slow. All you're going to tell them is slow down a little bit before there's different corners there, stuff you can't see.
Yeah.
So you should slow down. So you could cover.
That could have been dangerous, right?
You got to be
if
able.
You had a weapon.
Yeah. You need more people. You got to cover that whole area till you get to the fence, and then that would have been easy. But you know, guys are running. People are ahead of each other, and that's when things happen. You know, but it's adrenaline, and it's not an easy dig. You know? It's you've been chasing somebody in a car, and then you got to chase them on foot. Car chases are some of the worst feeling things, long ones that you can be in. You know, usually they're real short down there, but the adrenaline and the stress kicks up real big.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But that's a double, triple, no manches on that one.
So what about yours, Mike?
Oh, you took mine. I've been thinking about that shit all day.
I've been using that excuse since grammar school. Oh, that's what I was going to say.
That was the answer.
Another no manches. That's another no manches on that one. He took his excuse.
No, my dog ate my homework.
That was my idea.
Well, mine's a little bit of a downer because we recently had a family situation. And we don't know if it's the case, but it kind of sparked a conversation, you know, as Mexican culture, mental issues, mental health. We kind of take that for granted. Our generation, we were taught it makes you weak or you're not strong-minded. our parents obviously don't really believe in that, but I think it's something that has to change along with the community policing and how we're bringing them up. That's definitely a conversation that people need to start having with their kids as well, and just know that there's a lot of outlets and a lot of help out there.
Cool.
That's a lot of conversations that need to be held with our kids.
Yeah.
Whereas culturally, you didn't have conversations with your kids a long time ago.
Yeah.
You were just told,
Yeah.
Pórtate bien.
Yeah.
That's that.
Yeah.
You couldn't go and say, I'm not feeling good today, or like you felt. They said you be considered weak, or being tested. So those as parents, that's what we could say. Hopefully, we try to progress.
Yeah,
that
I
way.
think the generation of these kids are a lot smarter, and they realize these things. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as parents, we got to adapt with them too. And I know I've adapted. I'm a real hands-on dad, and that's what I like to. I have two young boys that are very, very similar to my brothers and I, very active. So we've got to stay talking. And there's a lot to talk about nowadays.
Yeah.
A lot of what they see and a lot of what you have to talk about. So it's important as far as breaking those old cultural customs of dad just go to work, wouldn't really talk to you or whatever, and you weren't gonna.
Unless he was drunk, right?
Say it was it. There you go.
Talk to you and shit. Yeah.
There you go. My dad wasn't that way. My dad was drunk. If he got home, went straight to bed. That was it. That's the only thing we knew. Oh, he's sleepy today.
Yeah.
No matter what time, it was straight to bed. He wasn't gonna talk to us. He wasn't gonna do anything like that. It was just straight to bed.
Yeah.
He wasn't one of those guys. But yeah, that's another one of those things. That's definitely something that as a culture, as parents, needs as dads.
Yeah.
I see what happens. We all do when there's not dads involved, and it's important. It's very important to be strong dads, strong for our kids, for our futures.
Well, we've come to the end of our segment. We'd like to thank you for coming again.
Thank you guys, man.
Obviously, you've had a lot to share with the police department and in the relationship with the community, and hopefully, you guys get a little bit
insight.
Insight, yeah, because it's easy to judge. I mean, like he said, and like we've all said, growing up, we told police this, police that. So hopefully, you guys understand that. Yeah, police officers, they're doing their job.
Right.
Yeah, they're not all 100%.
But they're people.
Right.
But they're people, and they just like everybody else. There's that 10%. We used to call it the 10% of the Marine Corps.
That's a 10%.
10%, and don't judge the other 90 based off the 10%.
But that's a 10% of everything, man.
Exactly.
The communities we
anywhere.
police, the 10% are doing 90% of the crimes.
Exactly.
So and with us, it's probably even smaller, but things are changing, and the conversation needs to happen and continue. Things like this are completely positive. So I appreciate you guys for having me on and having the, to be able to have conversations like this that need to be spoken and truths need to be spoke. It's not perfect, and it's not going to be because there's people behind it. But one of our main models in our core values with the LAPD is quality through continuous improvement. We're only as good as how we improve, and we continue to improve, and that includes our relationship with the community. If we don't have a relationship with the community, we're not going to be able to do our job.
True.
That's just it. That's the bottom line. We got to have a good relationship with our community to be able to do any kind of job.
True.
So that's part of it. Respect for the community, trying to be in one with the community, but we're always trying to improve. We're always could be better at anything we do.
True.
That's my positive statement for that. We're always,
Well, save that because we have something to ask.
Okay.
We like to end our segments. Before we end our segment, because I want to know, where can people reach you, or where can people view you? Like,
Right.
what's your Instagram?
I have
or
an
do you
Instagram
YouTube?
that's my name, Chris Reza, or C Reza Singh. Facebook as well, Chris Reza. Those are two the majority. I put the majority. I have a YouTube channel that has a lot of videos on there as well. It's Chris Reza.
Make sure you check them out.
Yeah, that has a lot of music videos on there. The Instagram is up to date with current events and stuff that I'm going to be doing the next concert. And little mamadas and family life and things like that.
And make sure you guys check out the show in Covina.
Yeah, Covina Center for the Performing Arts, March 27th. It's going to be like at 5 p.m., tardeada kind of thing. And it's for a good cause. So the tickets are on Eventbrite. So hopefully somebody can make it out. And I appreciate being here. Cool. And if you guys ever want to have me back, if you got
almost definitely
anybody asking questions, because I get a lot of this where you guys will get feedback as far as questions for the cop, or what, because a lot of stuff people don't know about. Yeah. They just don't know. It's a lot of people, we think we know, but we really don't know.
And don't be asking questions about how long you were gonna serve if you do this type of crime and that shit. You can look that shit up on Google.
How to get away with things
Right.
either.
Well, right now nobody's serving much, but we'll leave that for a different topic on that.
So like I was telling you, we like to end our segment with words of wisdom.
Right.
We like to ask our guests, what is some words of wisdom that they live by that they would like to share with our listeners and the community? So
Right.
you were talking about, you were kind of saying, and I kind of
Right.
interrupted you because I wanted
Right,
to.
yeah. So it's just, having respect for other people, right? Having respect for your neighbor. And then also trying to improve as a parent, as a person, as whatever it is you're doing every day. It's never too late. It's never too late to, if you have a habit, to stop it. If you have something that's negatively affect you, to fix it. It's life is long, but it's short. But you got to keep trying, right? You got to keep trying to make a positive impact, whether it's on your life, on your relationship, on everything that you can work on. Because the day we stop trying to become better at what it is, then you just give up.
Gotcha.
You have nothing to work on, So that's something that I kind of tell my kids, and that I live my life by, is always trying to become better at something, and enjoy the process. Whether to me it's singing and working out and all that kind of stuff. You got to enjoy those. Sometimes people find things hard. You got to find yourself, comfortable in difficult situations, right?
Yeah.
And that's the work that's the work that you do in silence. That's the work that you do when nobody's looking.
Yeah.
Right. And you got to keep working towards something, and eventually positive things will happen. Eventually positive things will happen with hard work, and that's the only message. And that's for everything in life. That's a positive just message for everybody, and stuff, that there's always somebody that's going through stuff in life. And I've known it, I've seen it because I dealt with it on a daily basis. There's always things that will look picture perfect on social media,
Yeah,
and,
true.
and the big and the most powerful people's lives, right?
Yeah.
As well as in the neighborhoods. So, there's always something that's going on, and positive reinforcement and a positive outlook and hard work will usually get you out of a hole that you're in.
Cool.
And support from other people.
Cool.
But I appreciate you guys, man. Thank
No,
you.
appreciate
thank you
you.
again. Once again, thank you.
My pleasure.
Guys, again, make sure you follow Chris. He gave you guys his outlets.
Yeah.
Make sure you follow us if you don't. And again, this has been Sisko and Mike, and we'd like to end it with a peace. Peace
Thank
and
you.
love.
Thanks, Chris, again. Peace out.
All right, man.
Peace.